Good evening, dear viewers. You're watching RTD's English News Edition. Here are our headlines. The Republic of Djibouti celebrated the World Human Rights Day today. In our regional news in Algeria, the new Algerian president calls for dialogue. Thank you for joining us in our newsroom. The Prime Minister, Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, sponsored today on Sunday morning in the People's Palace a ceremony devoted to mark the International Day for Human Rights, which falls on the 10th of December of each year under the slogan of Youth Defending Human Rights in order to benefit from the current momentum and highlight the leadership of youth in collective movements as a course of source as inspirational source for the better future. The occasion took place in the presence of a number of members of the government, including the Minister of Justice, Penitentiary Authority for the Human Rights official, Mr. Ali Hassan Bahdon, and the President of the National Human Rights Committee, Mr. Suleiman Omar Aden, in addition to the Coordinator of the International Agencies in Djibouti, Mrs. Barbara Menzi. The event is an opportunity to evaluate the achievements of the National Human Rights Commission in the field of promoting human rights in our country, and that in the past years, the National Human Rights Commission has carried out many activities in support of the human rights culture in the country, thanks to the wise policy of the government. This day symbolizes the day the General Assembly adopted in 1948 the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In the year 1950, the General Assembly adopted the 423 resolutions in which it called on all concerned countries and organizations to celebrate the 10th of December every year as the International Day for Human Rights. In a speech for this occasion, the President of the National Human Rights Committee, Mr. Suleiman Omar Aden, pointed out that the interests of the Republic of Djibouti in this global declaration represent the importance that it reflects as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in an integral part of our Constitution. And he explained that the Prime Minister's presence on this occasion, despite his many concerns, reflect his interest in this important issue, he said, and work alongside the government, the Minister of Justice, and the prison authority in charge of human rights and the National Human Rights Commission. The Minister of Justice and the Penitentiary Authority for Human Rights, Mr. Ali Hassan Bahdon, reviewed in his speech some of the government's endeavors to meet the needs of the youth segment in Djibouti. And for his part, the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, who sponsored this occasion, stressed the government's keenness to promote human rights, pointed out in this regard the equality between men and women, provision of education and health. The Minister of Finance, Mr. Ilyas Moussa, held a meeting this morning at the Ministry of Finance and Economy on the Horn of Africa initiative. The objective of the meeting was to discuss the preparation for the Horn of Africa initiative, which is an integration project between the countries of the Horn of Africa, namely Djibouti, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia. The meeting was attended by the Minister of Economy and Finance, Ilyas Moussa, the Minister of the Federal Republic of Somalia, Dr. Abdurrahman Douali, Deborah Witzel, Director of the World Bank, Bernard Francois, the EU's Head of Cooperation in Djibouti. The initiative will enable five African countries to benefit from project financing from the World Bank, African Development Bank, and the European Union. These projects will facilitate regional integration for the development of common infrastructure projects and through trade facilitation by harmonizing business processes and practices. In addition, the initiative will enable the five developing countries to develop a common policy on the development of human capital and resilience in the face of climate change. The Republic of Djibouti is chairing the initiative for the year 2020. The next deadlines are the organization of the meetings of the Ministers of Economy and Finance of the Horn of Africa countries next January, a donor forum at the end of March, as well as the organization of a head of state summit to officially launch the initiative in the second half of 2020. And here's one of the participants expressing the thoughts on this meeting.
So it's been a great pleasure to visit Djibouti. I'm here from the World Bank, but also with the EU and the African Development Bank to work on a program to support the Horn of Africa. I think there are huge opportunities in the Horn to help grow, build trade, create the jobs in markets that will be important for the future of the Horn. And I think there are clearly areas in which the Horn of Africa has lots to contribute to the Middle East. So in the areas of livestock, in some of the agricultural areas, the exchange across the Red Sea is an important opportunity for the Horn of Africa, but it's perhaps even more important to make sure that those landlocked countries in Africa who have very substantial resources are able to develop and grow their own economies by working together with each other.
The meeting room at the Kempinski Hotel Palace impressed this morning a meeting between the chief executives of the Djibouti Telecom Company and the service providers in order to discuss the project of marine cable house that passes through Djibouti and reaches Somalia in the city of Mombasa, Kenya. This project will allow the Republic of Djibouti to be connected to Somalia by sea cable, specifically the cities of the Bosaso and then Mogadishu and the city of Mombasa in Kenya. The Director General of the Djibouti Telecom Company, Mr. Mohamed Assowi, indicated that this meeting is dedicated to advancing the marine cable project that runs through Djibouti and arrives in Mombasa, Kenya. For several weeks, the INSPD team has been conducting an anti-vector control campaign, in particular through special spraying in the neighborhoods, more precisely in the commune of Boulouz. Targeting high-risk malaria areas, spray vehicles and hygiene workers have crisscrossed major arteries in the capital's neighborhoods to effectively control the spread of malaria-bearing mosquitoes. Supported by community health workers from these neighborhoods, a team of the entomologists applied the spreading techniques to eliminate larva germs in septic tanks. This space spraying and disinfection activities are also carried out in the main school facilities in the capital. This action is part of the school health program. Residents of the area will also benefit from mass distribution of impregnated mosquito nets as part of a door-to-door campaign that will take place in the capital. In the framework of its charity activities, the NGO Al-Rahma, in close collaboration with the NGO from the state of Bahrain, organized an important charity ceremony for the benefit of the population of the locality of Shkaiti. In addition, this NGO of the state of Bahrain financed a hydraulic complex composed of a drilling an 80 cubic meter water reservoir in water source. At this important ceremony, the president of the regional council, Mr. Abdulrahman Yunus Array, the prefect of the region, Mr. Aden Musa Durar, who recalled in their successive speeches the importance of this noble action in the fight against thirst. The prefect stressed in this intervention that these achievements fall within the framework of the MDGs and will also encourage the population of Shikaiti to develop agropastoralism as an alternative. As well as for the president of the regional council, he urged the population of this locality to develop the spirit to take charge of themselves by taking advantage of this access to water to develop agropastoralism and other income-generating activities. The Ali Sabih Regional Prefecture, in collaboration with the Rural Water Directorate of the Ministry of Agriculture and humanitarian organizations operating in refugee camps, to organize yesterday morning, Saturday, December 14, in Ali Sabih, in Ali Adde, a major Citizens' Day on Cleanliness Operation Ali Adde Clean Village. We should also note the presence on the spot of the prefect of the Ali Sabih region, Mr. Musa Aden Mingane, Deputy Abdul Saki Diriye, the commander, the chief of the Gendarmerie Brigade humanitarian organizations operating in the refugee camps, UNHCR, ONARS, WFP, and among others. Early in the morning, officials, traditional chiefs, refugee leaders, civil servants, and other anonymous people were invited to take part in the day dedicated to the cleanliness of the town of Ali Adde. As part of the implementation of the government's local health policy, the Ministry of Health conducts mobile team outings to provide healthcare to the rural population throughout the country, and especially in the most isolated areas. It is with this in mind that the mobile team of the Tijara Medical Center, led by the head doctor of the health region, Dr. Hassan Muhammad Hassan, made a trip to the sub-prefecture of Dora. Thus, more than 250 people living in these Buya localities were able to benefit from the various treatments. Indeed, the mobile team is a fully-fledged care unit made up of a doctor, a nurse, a nutritionist, and a vaccination agent. At the same time, the impregnated mosquito nets were distributed. The Djibouti Coast Guard, under the leadership of the Colonel Wais Omar Bokouri, commander of the Coast Guard, has launched a vast 2-day operation dedicated to the simultaneous cleaning and rehabilitation of the busy siesta in the school hall. Down on Saturday, December 14, more than 300 Coast Guard elements led by Colonel Wais Omar Bokouri invested massively simultaneously in siesta in the school of the hall in order to restore everyone to their former splendor and property. Given the extent of the deplorable state of siesta which the Coast Guard returned today, Sunday, December 15, mobilizing all its forces to complete the work began the day before. This very beautiful initiative, reinforced by the patriotic spirit of the elements, the Coast Guard made it possible to score the siesta for 2 days to bring out the beauty, and the property has recently been swallowed by the waste. Historical day for Djibouti cycling, the 7th stage of the Madagascar 15 cycling tour, the circuit that links the city of Mpita Tafika to Analavori took place on Saturday, December 14. The UCGR Duda team signed a first-rate collective achievements by imposing a train on the Malakashi peloton on the first slopes of an action of more than 10 kilometers. Our 4 fantastic riders gradually accelerated, fighting and pedaling at a very high pace, which broke the peloton and caused panic among the Belgian, French and New Zealand riders. Our champions have admirably applied a team tactic that had been decided the day before with their coach, Master Corporal Ismail Hussein Ismail, for sacrifice himself to get the team to the bottom of the pass and allow our runners to accelerate at a blistering pace. They took it in turns to come back within 2 minutes of the breakaways, which only owed their salvation to a victory that was achieved after the descent into the plain. Let us recall that during the celebration of the National African Youth Day, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margeli, had asked them to bring back a jersey for our nation. Already, the contract is fulfilled since UCSR Duda won a second unique award to Corporal Chief Abdi Muhammad Hussein, that for the best climber of the day. And the race is not over. There is one last stage of the circuit in the capital, the tour of the Lake Anosi in Antananarivo. The High Command of the Republican Guard, as its head, Colonel Muhammad Jama Douali, commander of the Republican Guard, once again reiterated his warm congratulations and encouragement to all 4 cyclists participating in the Tour of the Madagascar 2019. Search notice the Saban Mahmoud and Katun Abdullahi family are looking for their daughter Al Khair Saban, born on 10 June 1996 in Djibouti. She left home on December 13, 2019 at around 1 a.m. wearing the blue pajamas in veil and suffering from mental illness. In case someone sees her, please contact the Central Police Station at 21 35 27 61 or the family number 77020287 77 14 99 and 79. Moving on to the international news, signatory countries of the Paris Agreement finally approved a text this Sunday morning. More details with Dini Musa.
Signatory countries of the Paris Agreement finally approved the text this Sunday morning after rejecting it before several other proposals. To achieve this, the summit president, Civil and Environment Minister Caroline Schmidt, had to convince Brazilians who refused to commit themselves to oceans and land use. Proof of the significant disagreements between the states, the agreement is not very ambitious. It states that countries will have to present higher emission reduction targets in 2020. The states' commitments are therefore carried over to next year. COP25 stressed at its closing sessions the urgent need to act against global warming, but failed to reach agreement on key points to respond to the climate emergency and the urgent appeals of environmental activities. After 2 weeks of difficult negotiations, the UN Climate Conference in Madrid failed to reach agreement on the rules for international carbon markets, the last part of the Paris Agreement 2015.
First press conference this Friday of the new Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune. Details in this video.
Press conference this Friday of the new Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune. At the age of 74, Abdelaziz Bouteflika's former prime minister asserts that he is not in the continuity of the system. To give himself a new image, he let journalists ask questions, but above all, he says he wants to reach out to the Hirak, the protest movement. A newly elected president who will have to convince his many opponents again mobilized in the streets of Algeria. After results were announced, the demonstrators marched in crowds, their objective to reject this election, which they consider to be rigged. The turnout in these elections was just over 41%, the lowest in Algeria's history for polarized presidential elections.
This announcement comes on the eve of the arrival in Seoul, United States envoy to North Korea, Stephen Biegun, for a 3-day visit. More details with Dini Musa.
On the eve of the arrival in Seoul of the United States envoy to North Korea, Stephen Biegun for a 3-day visit, and after a test Thursday over the periphery of a new medium-range ballistic missile carried by Washington. Frustrated by the continuation of sanctions despite 3 summits since June 2018 with the U.S. President Donald Trump, Pyongyang set an ultimatum in Washington for the end of the year and resolutely promised him a Christmas gift for lack of progress. Located on the northwest coast of North Korea, the Sohae site, also known as Chongchang-ri, was at the heart of a 3-way diplomacy between Pyongyang, Seoul, and Washington for over a year. North Korea leader Kim Jong-un promised its closure in September 2018 at a summit with South Korean President Moon Jae-in.
And let's watch this video on Perito Moreno, the most famous iceberg in Patagonia.
Perito Moreno is the most famous iceberg in Patagonia. It is part of an ice field located between Argentina and Chile, the third largest freshwater reserve in the world. Unlike many other ice glaciers, Perito Moreno grows and can advance 3 meters a day. One of the consequences of melting glaciers is rising sea levels. Even a small increase can have devastating effects on coastal habitats, leading to flooding and land loss. The melting of glaciers also disrupts weather conditions. We have less snow and therefore less fresh water in summer to feed animals and for grass. So it is very difficult to recover grass from one summer to the next. The wind also affects us. When it blows hard, it affects the soil and deserts most of the region of Patagonia, says Edouard Tushunti. According to scientists, the melting of glaciers in this region will have less impact than that of Greenland and Antarctica.
It is with these images we close this edition. Thank you for joining us on the radio television of Djibouti, and have a good night.